This video is all about factoring the difference between two squares. And what that means is we have the word difference, which indicates the subtraction sign that you see here. There's also only two terms. So I'm writing that down. And both terms are what we call perfect squares, okay? Perfect squares are numbers or variables with exponents that we can take the square root of. So, for example, x squared, I can take the square root of x squared, that's x. The square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 16x squared is 4x. And the square root of 25 is 5. So as you can see, all of these terms are perfect squares. So two terms, a minus sign, and perfect squares. That means that this type of factoring problem is quite easy, actually. So we know that the only factors of x squared is x and x. And we already found the square root of 9, which is 3. The only difference is the signs are actually one positive and one negative. And no, it does not matter what order. I could totally put x minus 3 times x plus 3, and that would be just fine. So this next one, I've already confirmed that it fits all the criteria. So I know it's going to be 4x minus 5 and 4x plus 5. Now keep in mind, even though this is a different type of factoring, we should still be in the habit of checking for a greatest common factor before we start. So let's look at a few more examples. Here I have 49x squared and 36. I am going to check for a GCF because the numbers are getting bigger, but 49 and 36 actually don't have any common factors, but they are perfect squares. So I know I'm going to factor right away. The square root of 49x squared is 7x. And the square root of 36 is 6. So I know my answer is going to be 7x and 7x, 6 and 6. And again, it's going to be 1 plus and 1 minus. It has to be one of each. Because when I FOIL this, that's how I only get two terms, because the middle terms end up canceling. So on this next example, these are actually both even numbers. So I know this time the GCF is 2. But when I take the 2 out, now I'm left with perfect squares. So I'm going to continue to factor that because the square root of 4x squared is 2x. And the square root of 25 is 5. And there's 1 plus and 1 minus. So the GCF, the 2 that I took out in the beginning, is part of the final answer. Let's just do a few more because it's all about repetition. So here, these are just variables, but I can take the square root of both of those. So the square root of A is A. The square root of B is B. And I have 1 plus and 1 minus. Now, I am going to actually do this two ways because I feel like you can leave it the way it is and get 10 minus x and 10 plus x. But we've pretty much always taught you to write our polynomials in the proper order, which would actually give us this because the squared gets written first. And then normally, we would also tell you we'll factor out that -1. Here you can see this is still the difference of squares. Now, I just feel like this is the more proper answer and looks better. It's in the proper format, but they are technically both correct. So just be aware of that.